It was a Thursday evening, and I was wandering through the neighborhood, and I saw some cars out in front of the fire hall, and I thought I'd stop by. And I really just wanted to say hello to all of you, but I do have a couple of things that I'd like to say while I'm here. And I think it's significant that, as GT tells that story, and you know, in politics, so many of these stories just really aren't exactly as it occurred. You know, there may be a little bit of embellishment from time to time, and maybe some actual outright fibbing that goes on every once in a while, but he told it exactly like it was. The only thing, GT, that I remember saying when I said I thought you were going to be running for governor was, when you asked me, I said, is this a joke? He said, I'm as serious as a heart attack. So here we are. And my admiration for G.T. Thompson is, I can tell you, as great as it is for anybody. What he has done in the Congress of the United States, what he has done here in our Commonwealth is truly yeoman service. He won against all odds, running against people that had millions of dollars. And you spent how much, GT?
Well, I raised $24,000. I didn't.
A true fiscal conservative, GT Thompson. So when folks simply want to ask, how much money do you have? I say that's only part of the story. You are the rest of the story. And I think it's significant that we're here tonight in a fire hall because, as GT said, he's a firefighter. And I think that his public service began long before he was in Congress because he was the president of his fire company. And my son, Eric, he's trying to hide in the back as far to the rear as he can get. Come up here, Eric. Come on. Come on. He won't. See, DNA is a wonderful thing. He's just like his father, very shy, doesn't want the spotlight. But Eric is a member of the Hampton Township Fire Company that is headquartered here, and I know there are several other firefighters. Could they all stand up just for a second? Thank them. You know, volunteer firefighters really are the core of our communities. And here in Pennsylvania, we've lost tens of thousands of volunteer firefighters over the course of a very short period of time. And that threatens all of us in a variety of different ways, not only from a perspective of public safety, but from a perspective of the economy. If we have to go to paid fire companies because we don't have the volunteers who have done so much for so many through so many years. So when you see a volunteer firefighter, thank them. And one other thing I should mention, Eric played football for Cumberland Valley here in Hampton Township. And I see a lot of the Cumberland Valley alumni here. But you guys should know that hiding out over there in the door is a guy that played for Central Dauphin, Phil Petrina, who played against my son Eric in the longest football game in the history of Pennsylvania. 7 overtimes, 13-13 at the end of regulation, ended up 62-61, and a lot of bruised bodies. And bluntly, nobody should have lost that game. But I'm guessing that that's not why we're really here tonight, to hear those stories. But I do think it's important, as we get into the meat of why we're here, to realize that Eric and Phil and the other young people that are here are just starting out. And it's up to us to provide for them a Pennsylvania that is as great as the one we inherited. And GT's exactly right. We're on the wrong path right now. And we've got to reclaim the values, the traditions, and the policies that will make Pennsylvania great again. And that's why I'm here tonight to announce that I am a candidate for governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I've been truly blessed to call this Commonwealth my home for a long time. Jeff might have fudged a little bit about my being 5 years old when I met him. I've been here a few more than that. But despite the fact that I've been in every corner of this Commonwealth, somebody asked me the other day, Charlie, you've traveled all over Pennsylvania making speeches before Rotary clubs and chambers of commerce and schools, et cetera. How many miles have you put on your car through the years driving through Pennsylvania? And I actually sat down and tried to calculate it. and as nearly as I can tell, 1.5 million miles, all within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So when you say, does he know this state? I know every little nook and cranny, from the shores of Presque Isle to the Delaware River in Philadelphia, and from the southwest corner at Port Marion all the way until the northeast, and you come out in the highways there. And it is a great state. It is what it will always be in my blood as home. And it is someplace that needs our help, all of us. But as you heard earlier, although I was raised here and have lived here for a long, long time, I wasn't born here. I was born into some pretty tough circumstances, in a slum in Brazil, the likes of which we don't have in this country. And my birth mother went to a little mission, and she told them she wanted her baby to be adopted by Americans. Because in her mind's eye, if I came to America, perhaps I would be able to learn how to read. And so when I talk about opportunity and the freedoms that are necessary to pursue those opportunities, you know it comes from deep within my soul. And so the thing that we're going to talk about an awful lot over the course of the next year is real opportunities for every Pennsylvanian. Opportunities for those less fortunate who don't have the chances that many in this room have had. Opportunities that we haven't even thought of yet, but that we need to imagine and need to envision and need to pursue. And then we need to get the freedom back that we've lost over the course of the past year so that we can pursue the dream of every Pennsylvanian, every kid, so that they're not moving to Texas, not going to Arizona, not flying to Florida, and so that you don't have to get an airplane ticket to visit your grandchildren. GT was very kind in saying that Charlie knows how to govern. And when he talked to me that first night, that was the thing that hit me the most. Because governing is exactly what it's all about. And in a world of giant egos, I've got one as big as anybody. But I pray every day, and I hope that the good Lord answers, that I will be blessed with humility, and that I will pursue the path of doing what I've tried to do through the years, which is to surround myself with people that are better at what they do than I am, to put them in the right positions, to lay out a plan for them, and then to give them the power and authority to do their job for the people of Pennsylvania, to create a better future for all of us, and to get out of the way and not micromanage the way we've seen over the course of the last 8 years. And so we are going to be talking about an agenda of more opportunity and new hope. And what does that agenda look like? Several have already alluded to something that, to me, is at the forefront, and that is the sanctity of human life. Because if we won't fight for the most defenseless, who will we fight for? It extends to the Second Amendment. I'm a life member of the NRA. I make no apology for that. But if you look at the Second Amendment and then look at the Pennsylvania Constitution, you'll see that the Pennsylvania Constitution goes even further than the Second Amendment, saying that the right to keep and bear arms shall not even be questioned. And yet there are constantly folks in Josh Shapiro's office trying to figure out how to take our guns away every single day. And we're going to put an end to that. A couple of people mentioned criminal justice reform. That's not been a traditional Republican issue, but it's one I've worked very hard on. One that brought Van Jones and Donald Trump to the same table to put together a program that simply made humanitarian sense for those that are imprisoned. And I'll continue to work for sensible criminal justice reform, including the probation reform acts that are currently before the General Assembly and the rights of incarcerated women's bill that are also there, because they're important. They're the right thing to do. They are bipartisan, and that's a great thing, but they need somebody to shepherd them through and get it done. I know how to get things done. And how can we talk about an election without talking about election integrity? And I'm going to make sure that we have the laws in place to make sure that it's difficult, if not impossible, to cheat, but is easier to vote. And finally, we know that state government needs to be cleaned up. Too many over there believe that it's their government. It's our government. And this campaign is going to be a campaign from the people, for the people. And we're going to be talking about the things necessary to give back the power of Pennsylvania to its citizens instead of a protected political class that rules from on high. And that begins with simply trusting the people. It means term limits for legislators so that nobody is taking up root in the Capitol. You know, our founders envisioned people coming from the farm and the factory, the home and the office, going to Washington, going to Harrisburg, serving their country well, writing laws, and then going home and living with them. I think we need ballot referendum so that when the folks in government don't do the job, we, the people, can and will. And I will push hard to make sure that what Tom Ridge, who, by the way, say a prayer for, began a quarter of a century ago, gets put into law under my watch, because that gives the power back to the people. And let me mention one other one, because I think it's particularly important. I will push hard for a constitutional amendment that will allow the people of Pennsylvania to recall and replace any governor that thinks he or she is a king. And we'll explore a lot of other new ideas. Maybe we'll talk about 2-year budgets instead of the fiasco that we've seen too often on June the 30th here in the Commonwealth. We're going to talk about the importance of education and the promise that it affords to our children for a better future. Farah Jimenez, a champion for the most vulnerable, a champion for the people who are less fortunate. We need to be, thank you, Christine. We need to be taking up that cause. I have been a champion for school choice from day one. I'll be taking that fight to a next level, because we need to do more for children that are trapped in failing schools simply because of the zip code in which they live. And we need to get back to basics in education. We need to teach civics in our schools once again. Instead of the indoctrination nonsense of critical race theory or the 1619 Project. We need to support our police. Nobody is going to be defending the police under my watch. It's as simple as that. And we need to get back funding for transportation. Our roads and our bridges are incredibly important, not only for public safety, but for our economy. Because if we can't get goods to services into the market in a safe and reliable fashion, all of us suffer. And so we'll be talking about some innovative ideas there, so that our roads and bridges are taken care of and are not substandard any longer, and at the same time we're able to adequately and properly fund the state police instead of raiding the funds that are supposed to go for the roads and bridges and taking that money and using it to fund our state police, including an idea put forth by one of my friends in this room to take that COVID-19 funding in the short term, apply it to the budget of the state police so that we can take the funds intended for our highways, roads, and bridges and use it as it was intended and as it was taken from us under the promise that it would be used for that purpose. GT was very kind in saying Charlie's prepared to be governor. And I'll accept that. I know what has to be done, and I know how to do it. And together, we can take the fight every single day and win. You know, I fought Tom Wolf from day one. In fact, I fought him before day one. I fought him before he became governor because I knew what his far-left proclivities, that's the word for the day, meant. And I fought him when he ran for a second term because I said, imagine Tom Wolf unfettered by the realities of re-election, and we just saw what that was all about. But Tom Wolf isn't on the ballot. My campaign isn't going to be focused on him like that of some others. I'm going to focus on Josh Shapiro, because if you think Tom Wolf has been bad, Josh Shapiro would be way worse. And I'm going to try to earn every single day the title of being the one Republican Josh Shapiro hopes he never has to face. You know, I'm very proud of my life story, but I realize every hour of the day that I never, ever could have done it alone. I've been blessed by a God in ways that I could never have asked or prayed. I've been blessed with friends like all of you here. I've been blessed to live in the greatest country in the history of the world, and I've been blessed to live in the best of the 50 states. And I want to help us into the future, and I need your help. Working together, we can win the fight, not just the governor's office, because it's not about getting a title. It's about getting a job done. And I know all of us believe that. I know all of us believe that we need to create a Pennsylvania that's the most attractive place in the United States to live, to work, to raise families, and to create jobs. And we have the solutions. They may be simple, but they're not easy. And I need your help. So my only question for you tonight is, will you help me? With your help, with your prayers, and with God's help, we will do it. So I am proud to say tonight, I want the vote of every Republican in the primaries, every independent and Democrat in the fall. I want to be the next governor of Pennsylvania. I'm going to go out from here and work as hard as any candidate you've ever seen to make sure that happens. And I look forward to doing it with each one of you. Thank you. That's all, folks.